Hey everybody, today I'm going to be installing a brand new product that just hit the RV market. I always enjoy trying out new products, giving manufacturers feedback, and so do me a huge favor as you're watching along in today's video, drop comments below, let the manufacturer know what you like, what you dislike. But I believe this is the first time ever this product has been featured in a video like this, and so I'm really excited about it. This is the ONNAIS RV door lock, and so I'm going to show you unboxing. We're going to install it and then test it out and see how it works. Now before I unbox it, let me go over just a few basic things. Obviously this is a keyless RV door lock, so it's got the keypad and then a key fob there, but it's designed to replace really the most common RV lock style on towable RVs. All right, so this is my fifth wheel here, so it's really designed for travel trailers and fifth wheels, but I wanted you to see what the current lock set that I've got on the RV looks like so you can compare and make sure that yours is similar. And then I also pulled out the original lock that was on my fifth wheel before I replaced it. So you need to have a lock that looks similar to one of these two guys right here, and there's some other lock styles as well. These are both made by Bauer, and so just double check before you purchase to make sure your style of lock is compatible, but chances are if you've got a fifth wheel or travel trailer, then it's going to be compatible. All right, well, let's go ahead and unbox it and check out what we've got. And I'll just mention, if you've never heard of ONNAIS before, they are new to the RV industry, but they are very well established when it comes to gun safes, handguns, pistols. They have many different gun safe products on the market and thousands of near 5-star reviews on those gun safes. So if you think about it, gun safes have a lot in common with RV locks, in terms of the keypad and the mechanism there. And so that's kind of interesting, but this is their first product in the RV market. Let's go ahead and check it out. So we've got looks like an installation guide here. Got a quick start video link, and then a pretty nice and concise owner's manual there. So we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. And it looks like we've got the main lock body right here, nicely wrapped up. And guys, what really drew me to this product is it looks nothing like all the other RV locks on the market. I mean, check this out. It's a very unique design, form factor. Nothing else I've seen in the RV lock market looks like this. All the other RV locks seem very similar. They're very curved. It looks like they have very similar designs. This one is very unique, and so that's why I decided I'm willing to test it out. In fact, let me show you the key fobs that they come with. These in particular really caught my attention because most of the key fobs on RV locks are key fobs that look like from the 90s or so. But check this out. This looks very automotive, very different than anything else out there. And then look at this. The key is actually built into the key fob, just like a lot of cars today. So I really think they did a great job on just the overall design of the product. It looks unique. It's different than everything else. It's very functional looking, and it just looks very automotive the way they designed it. And as far as what's else in the box here, I believe this is going to be your latch hardware. Yep, looks like we got our latch hardware and an Allen key and some screws and even a little mini screwdriver there. So that's nice that they give you all that. And then here I believe is a second key fob, so you get 2 key fobs with it. So let's go ahead and get the old lock removed and then install this and go over some of the features. Now, if you've never removed a lock on your RV before, it's really simple. It's definitely a DIY project that I think just about anybody can do. I recommend using only hand tools, a hand screwdriver. You never want to, over torque or over tighten something like this and, strip screws or squeeze the door more than you should. But basically most lock sets are going to have 4 screws that kind of sandwich the lock onto your door. So mine here on this one are Phillips. This is a Bauer lock again. And so I'm just going to loosen all 4 of these screws, and then it's going to come right off. All right, so now all 4 screws are loose. So I'm going to gently pull this part of the handle. If you have an existing keyless or any kind of electronic lock, there's typically going to be some kind of wire attaching the two pieces together. So you don't want to pull this right off. You want to kind of look first. And I can see there where it's connected. So it looks like it's got the connector right on the inside here with a little pull tab. And so I'm going to gently push that release button there and pull it out. And then before I remove the outer portion of the lock, I'm going to go ahead and undo these two screws right here where the latch is, and that'll release everything else. These are just Phillips screws on mine as well. All right, so I've got that release. I'm going to take this little plate out of the way. And then you want to be careful to have another hand on the back side here so that as you pull that lock out, you know, nothing pops out unexpectedly. And just pull that out gently. And then we're all set there. So you can see then what it looks like with the old lock set removed. And then before we get started with the new, let me just give you some dimensions so you can compare. So on the width of the opening, mine is about 2 7/8 across. And then up, it looks like we've got about 3 5/8 tall. And then you want to pay attention to this distance too, where the cutout is to the edge of your door. And mine is about, I would say, 1 1/8, it looks like there to the edge of the door here to the cutout. Okay, so getting started on the new lock, the first thing we're going to do is separate the inside from the outside there. And so this one has Allen heads on those screws, and they give you this nice little Allen wrench here. I believe it's a 3mm if I'm not mistaken. So we'll loosen all these up so we can separate it. And then we'll carefully pull it apart here and check for that wire. So this one you can see is a little bit different. I'm going to set this down so I can show you a little bit better here. And it has, it looks like, a little clip here. You're just going to squeeze this right here and then gently pull that ribbon cable connector apart. Now, one thing right off the bat that I really like that I'm seeing right here is just how thick of a gasket they have built into the lock to seal it up. Because remember, this is what's going to go on the outside of your RV. You do not want any water penetrating through behind the lock in your fiberglass and seeping into the inside of your door. And I mean, they've got a really nice thick gasket, and it doesn't go just around the perimeter. It is the whole thing right here. And then on the inside, they've got more of a foam gasket. You know, you're not concerned about water so much, but you want it to be tight and, you know, be firm against the door. And again, they've gotten the whole inside plate there with this nice foam gasket. So I really like that a lot. Now, before I install it, I'm going to do a dry fit first just to make sure everything fits. And so I'm going to insert this. This is the outer portion, kind of at a 45-degree angle here. Make sure that that ribbon cable goes in first so it doesn't get pinched. And then you just kind of have to go in real slow, and you basically want the latch to peek out here at the same time. And let's see. Okay, I'm running into something. Let me hop around here so you can see. All right, so you can see here the posts for the screws are just barely touching the cutout on my door here. And so depending on your model, you might have to, I just need to trim ever so slightly on the fiberglass right there to give clearance for these posts to go all the way through. And before I do that, I'm just gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna hold the lock up, and I'm basically lining up this part where the cutout is, the body of the lock, and making sure that once I do get it in there, that everything else is going to fit. And so it looks like I've got enough clearance here with my trim on the door, because you want it flush on the fiberglass. You don't want it overlapping there. Otherwise, everything looks good. So basically, I just need to trim just a small amount right here and right here to clear for these posts. Now, you may not have to trim like I'm doing, but if you do, the preferred tool is going to be a Dremel tool, something similar to this one here. And you can see where I've marked it. I mean, it's barely maybe 3/16 of an inch that I'm trimming into the outer fiberglass here. And for those concerned thinking, hey, you're permanently modifying your door, this is such a small amount that I'm trimming, there'd be no problem going back to the old RV lock. In fact, you can see the footprint of the old RV lock right here and where it covered up. And so now we'll do attempt number 2 to get in there. You can see I just trimmed out just the smallest little bit there for those posts. And so I'm going to go again at a 45-degree angle. I've got my ribbon cable here first, and then I'm just lining up the latch. And let me show you what trimming that did. Notice over here, you can see that those posts now have the clearance to fit just barely. So it is a pretty tight fit, but yeah, I just had to trim that out a little bit. And now I'm going to push it all the way in, and perfect. There we go. That looks really good. I've got clearance here with the window glass. Let's check out here with the latch portion. Oh, that's very nice. You can see it's nice and flush with the outside flange of the door. And so yeah, that looks really good. Okay, now before I do the inside half of the lock, I like to pause and actually take the plate that goes by the latch over here and put that together first, because that's going to determine how far in or out this whole body gets mounted in this opening. And so I like to do that first. So I'm going to go over here, and there is an inside and an outside to this piece. This is the outside. You can see there it's all finished off, and it's got room for the screws to set in there compared to the inside. And basically you just slip it behind your door gasket, and it's going to line up real nicely like that. And then we've got 2 Phillips screws. Now my outer plate here on the latch is secured. It's nice and tight, and so I'm going to focus on the inner half of the lock body here. So first thing I'm going to do is attach the ribbon cable, and you can see it only goes one way. It won't let you do it the wrong way. Of course, you can see the red cable on the outside lining up, but just listen for that snap so it's secured there. And then you'll notice there's a lot of slack on this cable, and so we want to make sure that when we install this inner half, that ribbon cable doesn't get pinched between your door here and the lock. So I'm going to kind of slide it out of the way this direction to hold it there, and then basically we're just going to be marrying up this post right here that controls the deadbolt, and that goes basically right here. And so you want to make sure this is in the unlocked position because our deadbolt is pushed in. And then we're going to very carefully line all that up. Probably helps if you have 2 people, but I'm going to move this over here and then very carefully get that married up together. There we go. So I can feel that the deadbolt peg there is inserted. And so now I'm going to grab a screw and see if I can get one of those screws in the post. This is probably a little bit easier if you have a second person to help you here. You kind of have to hold the outside of the lock, keep it from pushing through, and then you got to go on the inside here and marry it together. So I can feel the screw is grabbing, so that's good. I'll do just a little bit, and then I'll work on some of the other ones. All right, so I've gotten all 4 screws there with the Allen heads in there. I have not tightened them because before I do that, I just want to make sure everything looks good on the inside and outside, because again, there's going to be a little bit of play. You can see in flex. And so you want to make sure everything's in that right position before you get everything nice and tight. Everything looks good here on the outer plate. So I'm going to tighten it down. And like I said before, you definitely just want to do this by hand. I do not recommend using any kind of power tools because you don't want to over tighten these screws. You want to be able to feel what you're doing and make sure you don't go too tight. I can feel that the gasket is compressing nicely all the way around, and so I'm just doing my final tightening now. Everything's tightened up now, and you can see it looks really good on the outside there, nice and straight. The gasket you can see compressed just a little bit, so it's a nice tight watertight seal there. And on the inside too, just everything looks really good. So now we're going to go ahead and get the batteries installed and test it out, get everything all set up. I'm going to be using lithium batteries, AA lithium batteries. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary, but you know, sometimes with RVs, given that they're used in the wintertime when it's cold and freezing outside, the lithium batteries seem to hold up a little bit better there. And so I had these in my old lock, so I'm simply reusing them here. All right, so we are all installed on the lock sit itself. Let me point out one last install detail, and that is on this striker plate that they give you that goes on your inside door jamb right here. And so you can see I have one. This is my old plate, and this is the new one they gave, and they're virtually the same. There's a little bit less of a cutout on the one that they gave me, but otherwise it's the same. So I'm going to leave my old striker plate on here because nothing's wrong with it. You can see though, however, there are screws to adjust the striker plate in or out. So if you close your door and maybe it closes too firmly, you got to put too much pressure on it, then you can adjust that striker plate in or out accordingly. But mine, it's got a real nice firm closure right here. You can see the door doesn't travel in or out. It's nice and tight up against the gasket, and yet it doesn't require too much force to shut. So it's about right where it should be. Let's go ahead and test it out and see how it all works. Got one of the key fobs here, and it looks like you need to program these to work with the lock, which kind of makes sense depending on how many locks you have. So I'll do that in just a minute. But let's actually test the locking functionality just with the keypad first. So you're gonna hit this ONNAIS button to lock it, and then I can hear the deadbolt and I hear a little double beep, and so now it is locked. So now if I try to pull on the door, you can see it is locked with the deadbolt. And so now we'll try to unlock it. The default passcode is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, enter. And there you go. And it's unlocked. So that works good, and it looks like everything's going smoothly. Let's just see what that looks like here. So you can see lock, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, unlock. So real nice and smooth. Everything looks good there. Let's go ahead and program the key fobs next. So I'm looking at the instructions here for program your fob, and so it says ensure that it's in the unlocked state, which it is. The deadbolt is unlocked. Enter the administrator password, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, enter. And it says press set 3 times. So we'll go to the inside here, and we've got set 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then it says wait for the beep, we heard that, and then press any button on the key fob. So we're gonna go, so I must have missed it, but the ONNAIS button lit up and flashed twice, and now the key fobs are working. So if I press the lock button, you can hear it, and then unlock, and then same thing with this one, lock and unlock. So we're all set on the key fobs. Okay, so let's demo the whole thing real quick. So we've got our key fob here. We're gonna do the lock. So it beeps twice, and then unlock 3 times. So twice for lock, 3 times for unlock. Same thing on the keypad over here. So it's in the unlocked. If we hit the ONNAIS, it locks it. Double beep, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So 3 beeps unlock, 2 beeps locks. Okay, let me make some observations on the outside here, and then we'll go and look at the inside half some more. But this is where I really need your help. If you can drop comments below, let me know what you guys like and dislike. I think that'd be really helpful to the manufacturer. I'll just say right off the bat, I really like the form factor. I mean, I think this looks really slick and sharp, really automotive in the styling there. It's definitely different than any other lock set that I've seen on the market. I also like this keypad area here. It's got a one-piece silicone keypad, so you don't have to worry about water getting behind the buttons or anything like that. It's got a very satisfying press there where you feel a click and you hear the beeps, of course, so I really like that a lot. I like that it's a full numeric keypad as well, not stacked numbers, you know, going vertically, just more natural. And then one thing that's really neat about this is, let's say you're at a campsite, you've got a peeping Tom next door, and they are watching you every time you go in and out of your RV, and maybe you think they're watching you enter your code. Well, you can throw them off by entering random numbers first, and then do your real passcode, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now, and then enter some more random numbers, and then hit the enter. And as long as your passcode is embedded in whatever number sequence you entered, it's somewhere embedded in there, it's going to recognize that as a valid input. So that's a pretty clever feature, because if you're concerned about someone watching, you can do that and have that peace of mind. So I like that a lot. Let's talk about 2 things though that are very different on this lock set. You may have noticed that, first of all, instead of having a key slot up here for the handle set, this is for the handle set, right? It's got this little knob here that has a unlock and a lock position. So this is really unique. I don't know that I've seen this before. Most lock sets have another keyed position up here that basically locks and unlocks the handle set manually. Even though it's keyless and electronic here, they only apply that to the deadbolt typically on the locks that I've seen at least. So you're always bringing your key and unlocking and locking the handle set up here. And typically, if you're like me, you only do that when you're in transit. So this is really different. They're just giving you a little knob here to turn instead of using a key. So I mean, it truly is keyless. If you leave your keys behind, it's okay. If you lose your key, it's okay, because this is completely keyless now. So I'm not sure what I think about that. You know, sometimes I think it'd be nice to still have a traditional key there that you could lock or unlock, you know, while you're in transit, or maybe you leave for the day and you want a little more security. So I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but we'll see. And then the other thing that's unique is you'll notice they actually have a cover, a silicone cover for the deadbolt key. So most of the lock sets I've seen just have an exposed keyhole. And this makes sense if you think about it, because if it's keyless, you're probably seldom going to be pulling that key out, which, by the way, it's right in here in the key fob. It's pretty slick. But I think that's pretty nice that they did that. It protects it, keeps dust from getting in there. I will say the silicone feels like it could be ever so slightly thicker, maybe. It feels like it's not quite as tight fitting in there, so we'll see over time, you know, how that stays in there. But guys, let me know what you think. I really like the overall look of the outside, and I mean, I think this key fob looks really, really sharp. Then here's the inside half, and the biggest thing that sticks out to me here is they have a very, very clear unlock and lock position there on that deadbolt. You know, I think almost every other RV lock, even the conventional ones versus the keyless, to me it's a little bit confusing. Most of them will have a red dot instead of a clear unlock and lock symbol. They'll have a red dot, and for me it's kind of confusing, because is the red dot telling you the lock is ready to go, ready to open up the handle, or is the red dot saying the deadbolt is engaged? It's just not real clear. This is a no-brainer. You got unlock and lock. So I think that's really nice, especially for younger kids and for people like me that maybe your brain isn't always firing on full cylinders. That's just very clear, and you have peace of mind walking by seeing that in the lock position there. It's got a real traditional handle on the inside, easy to get several fingers behind there. And then over here you've got just a few settings. So you've got your set button, which we use to set the code and the key fob. Then we've got a light here, so that is for the outer keypad. So if we hit this light button here, it was off. Now we turned it on, and I'll show you what that looks like. So then when you touch the buttons on the outside, you can see, hopefully it's bright outside, but you can see it lights up. So that's a really nice feature at nighttime. You can turn that on or off, and then of course it'll time out eventually and go off. So that's the light. You can also mute it if you don't want to hear the beeping, and then it does have an option to reset it there. And then this is for if you want to disable the key fobs. So when it's in this unlock position, it will allow the key fobs to work. And so I can press on the key fob, but if I turn this here, maybe you lost a key fob and you're concerned about someone gaining access, then you can just put this on the lock. And now you can see, even though I'm hitting the unlock button, it's not responding because it's on that setting there. So that's a pretty slick feature. And let me point out one other thing that I'm noticing on the inside as I test it out, and that has to do with the handle here. So most RV lock sets are going to have two handles. They've got one here to release the door, right? And then a second fixed handle over here typically to grab and shut the door, because if you use this to shut the door, it's not going to shut because that's what releases the door, right? And so most are going to have a second fixed handle, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Here's my original lock set. So we've got the handle that you pull on to release, but then over here we've got a fixed handle, and that's what you're grabbing on to close the door typically. So this one does not have that fixed handle over here or anything else really to grab onto. Now I don't think that's going to be an issue for most people. I'm in a little bit of a unique situation that I've removed my screen door here, and if you're curious what I do instead, I'll put a card up for that particular video. But you know, most people have a screen door with a bar running across here, and they use that bar to shut their door because the screen door is attached to the main door here. I don't have that. I do, however, have this window trim right here, and a lot of times as I'm coming in, that's what I'm actually grabbing onto, just because there's larger, you know, area here for me to put my hands on, and so then I'm using that to shut my door. However, if you're accustomed to grabbing something right here on your previous lock set, that is missing on this lock set, and so you'll have to find something else to grab. Again, I don't think it's an issue for most people, but maybe it'd be nice in a future version to have a provision for a handle right there just to grab and use that to shut your door. And last question I want to know is, how far away does the wireless key fob work? And so I am standing probably about 50 feet away from the front of my RV, probably another 70 feet or so away from the actual door. And I don't know if you can hear this on the video. I can hear a beep in the background. It's working all the way back from here. So I mean, we're over 70 feet away. I would imagine the range on these is very similar to a car key fob, so probably well over 100 feet, you know, which is more than sufficient for this type application. But anyway, I'm going to leave this installed on my RV, and I'll be testing it out over the next few months. Maybe I can come back and do a long-term update and a full review and let you know how I like it long-term. But in the meantime, like I said before, you can do me a huge favor and let me know your likes and dislikes. I think it'd be really helpful to the manufacturer, especially since it's their first, product in the RV space. They've made a lot of different gun safes and things like that, but this is really their first attempt at an RV lock. So definitely drop comments below. If you're interested in purchasing this lock, I will include affiliate links in the description below. So I appreciate you using those to support the channel. As always, thanks for watching.